Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Spring Forward podcast. I'm your host, Spring Richardson-Perry, and today we have such an exciting episode for you. We have Miss Anika Allen, who is a friendship consultant, and she is the founder of Five Star Friendships. Her mission is to improve lives one friend at a time. And so I know you're probably wondering, what does that mean? Like, what is a friendship consultant, right? And so, through her work, what Anika has found is that friendship is linked to long term happiness. So, this is why she offers guided journals and live online workshops that help you take your friendships to the next level. So, Anika has accomplished professional success in sales, marketing, customer care operations, all this from working in industry leading Fortune 500 companies. But over the years, it became clear to her that personal, not professional relationships are more important to our overall fulfillment. So there's a difference, and she's going to talk about that, your personal relationships and your professional relationships, and how that has a profound impact on us and who we are as human beings. She spent hundreds of hours researching social connection, and she is so excited to share that information with us today. So without further ado, please help me welcome Miss Anika Allen. Hi, Anika.
Hi, I'm so excited. In the back of my head, I'm hearing like swallow pattern. You welcome me. So thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited for you to be here. I really want to dig into this topic about how relationships affect you as a person and ultimately affect your career, because I'm sure people are wondering, what in the world is a friendship consultant? Because that was one of the things that intrigued me. I was like, Anika, what is this? What is it that you're
Mhm.
doing? Like, explain this to me. So I want to start off by kind of jumping into that. What was that moment or that experience that you had that catalyzed your transition from working in sales, marketing, and customer care operations to focusing on enhancing personal relationships through your friendship consulting?
That is a great question. I do get that often when I am at networking events or I'm out talking to people and they ask what I do and I say I'm a friendship consultant. They're always intrigued. They go, wow. And then they go, what is that? So it's just like it sounds. I consult in the area of friendship, but it's not limited to, trying to help somebody find a BFF. Our own Surgeon General says that loneliness is becoming an epidemic. And it literally, there are countless studies and research out there showing that if you feel isolated, if you don't have others you connect to, if you don't have people in your life who care about you, you've chosen to ride solo, you've been hurt, you've been betrayed, you feel like I need to do it by myself, it can affect your physical health as well as your emotional health. And so that goes beyond just finding somebody to celebrate your birthday with. That goes into, how we interact in our community, how we serve others, and how we show up in our careers or at work if you are an employee. So it permeates everything. And what I do is I help people who are struggling to connect and find sort of their tribe, right? It could be a myriad of reasons. It could be there are on the spectrum. I work with people who are part of the neurodivergent community, people who are just shy or introverted, and those who have had a lifestyle change. You are the first in your group to have a baby. You don't have anybody you can connect with to talk about, breastfeeding, potty training, puberty, that kind of thing. You maybe are in the military and you move a lot. And every time you go to a new community, you find it hard to connect with new people. So that's one group. If you are having trouble finding your crew, that's where I come in. The other part of what I do is for people like me who already have friends. You might have a lot of friends, but you're not utilizing them as true accountability partners to take you to the next level in terms of accomplishing your financial goals, your health goals, your spiritual goals. So there are a lot of different aspects. And when it comes to friendship, sometimes we forget that having friendships at work can be advantageous to us from a professional perspective.
I love that. And so a lot of times we always talk about what's at work is at work, what's at home is at home. And so some people will say, yes, of course you're going to have friends at work and those friendships may exist outside of work. And then some people would caution against that and say, hey, your friends should be your friends at work and that should be strictly professional. And then your personal relationships are your personal relationships and don't mix the two. So, what do you say about that? Like, how does that work? Because you were just, talking about how to leverage your relationships, your
Mhm.
friendships for personal and professional. What's your opinion on that?
This comes up often, especially for people of color or people who are considered a minority, that meaning women as well. We feel like we have to wear a mask and we have to be two different people in two different environments. And to some extent, that is true. I don't know many people, including myself, where you're just going to be 100% everything that you are at home the way you are at work. However, there is something to be said for trying to tap into your true authenticity, because if you don't, it can literally make you sick. My sister is a perfect example. She was driving to work every day, and she has a degree in accounting, and she hated it. She would literally get to the parking lot and just cry. And I know there are some people out there who can relate. Whether you're an employer or employee, you don't like what you do. It is stressful. It takes a toll on you. And so finding a way, at least for me, to marry the two was something I did for my own personal sanity. So my degrees are in business and marketing, and I have worked at different Fortune 500 companies. Doing sales is great. It's flexible and it's a lot of networking. You're really just, talking to people and getting them to like you, because people don't buy, or businesses don't buy from just people who have the cheapest price or who have the best product. You buy from people you like. You have to present value. And so it really is about selling yourself, no matter what business you are in, whether you're selling insurance, real estate, or whether you're selling cupcakes. It is about selling yourself. And so understanding that you need to be able to find a way where you can feel good about yourself is important. So for me, after I hit that magic 50 mark, I'm going to take a pause because I know people like, what? She's 50? She looks great. No. But I started to look at my life differently, like a lot of people do when they hit that milestone. And you start to wonder, what's really making me happy? I don't want to sit in the parking lot and take deep breaths before I go into work. I don't want to, dread me counting down to retirement because I want to leave this environment. And so when you look at friendships and establishing relationships that are good for your soul, you want to do that not just outside of office. You want to do that during work hours as well, because it literally takes a toll on your health. Think about it. You're at work 8, 10, some people 12 hours a day. If you are in an environment where you don't feel valued, where you don't feel heard, where you don't feel like you're having fun and you're appreciated, you're going to pay for that in the end.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And, you said this earlier. The Surgeon General says that loneliness is becoming a health problem,
An
right?
epidemic, yes.
And stress, but stress as well, right? And so on the one hand, you're not feeling connected, you're not feeling like I have anybody that can relate to me, my situation, the things that I'm going through. But then on the other side of that, right, there's you connecting with a lot of people with your work, but you are like overworked, overstressed, your
Mhm.
cortisol levels are through the roof, which is causing you to be sick, and it's just giving you all these health problems. And so, you talked about it yourself in saying that, when you turned 50, you started to reevaluate things, right?
Mhm.
Because this was a new milestone in your life. You were looking to, I'm sure, stay healthy. And so you were looking at to see like what is going to help me to be healthy. And in order to be healthy, you have to reduce your stress and you
Mhm.
have to have time to maintain your healthy habits. And so talk to us about some of the things that transfer from your professional experience to your personal experience, and how you're able to really help people to connect the two, to be better employees, to be better people for themselves, like how you were in this instance, looking for something more, something different. What were you going to do in the second half of your life?
Right. That is very well summarized. So I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with a book that was written, or it actually was a study, but it was a nurse who worked in hospice care or for those people who are nearing the end of their life. And she talked to so many patients, and they look back at their life, and she basically summarized what she continued to hear, what people regretted the most. They did not regret putting in more hours or making, X amount of dollars. It was all about, I did not connect with people. I didn't, take the risk and ask her out on that date. I did not, follow my heart, follow my passion. Most people didn't regret what they did do. They regret what they didn't do. And I didn't want to be one of those people. And so my job, great, got health care. I know some people out there like, I got to pay the bills. I totally get that. But I needed something that I felt passionate about. And you can do it one of two ways. You can look for opportunities at your current, in your current career to get more passionate, right? If you're in a large organization, there are opportunities maybe to volunteer. I have done that. I have loved mentoring and working with young people. No matter what organization I have worked at, I always find a way to volunteer, whether it was take your kids to work day or being a sponsor for the Boy Scouts of America. They have an Explorer program that helps teens figure out what they want to do with their lives. You can look for other ways within your organization to bring yourself joy, right? And a lot of them have volunteer opportunities, or there might be departments that you can start to sort of work cross-functionally with. So if you are in accounting, like my sister, who thankfully said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be sick sitting in the parking lot. She took a pay cut. She took some courses and she went into HR. And she's much, much happier there. And so sometimes you have to take the risk and go, I need to do what's best for my mental health. And so for me, I started to look back at what am I good at? And I have to, pat myself on the back. I'm really good at friendships and socializing. I have been since I was a kid, getting the little friends in my neighborhood to play school in the summertime. And they still joke about it. Like only Anika could get us to play school in the summer when we're off school. But I love to teach and do that kind of thing. And so looking for ways for me, I was like, I need to find something that feels good to me and still serves my community, and helping people connect with other people so that they can prolong their life. It just seemed like a win-win.
That's awesome. I love that because we during the pandemic, things shifted and the way that we connected was different. But there were a lot of studies that showed that human connection, that human touch, that personal in-person thing. There's just something about that you just can't replace. No
Right.
computer, no digital lifestyle is going to replace that human connection. And so, I love that this is your focus, that you're really helping people to connect again and to find their place, whether it be personal, whether it be professional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is what is really going to help them move forward both personally and professionally. And I'm one to really believe that if your personal affairs are in order, your professional affairs will fall into place, because you can think clearly, you
Yes.
can create a plan, you can be like, okay, I don't have to worry about, I'm not stressed out about money, or I'm not stressed out about this particular instance at home. And so now I can think clearly about my next steps and what I want to do to continue making a living. And
Absolutely.
so this kind of brings me into my next question, because again, your role emphasizes how friendships create long-term happiness. And so how do you think that individuals who are transitioning careers, how can they leverage their personal relationships to navigate a career transition more effectively?
Okay, I fully understand where you are going with that. Let me bring up a quick study on something you said before around, trying to find your happy place, because when you have balance like that at home and at work, you prosper on all fronts. Because what happens if you're unhappy at work? A lot of times when you do get home, the first thing you do is you start to unload and you start to say, oh, such and such did this, and I can't stand this person. And can you believe she did X, Y, and Z? Actually, I think Kevin Hart has a whole bit he does about it, listening to his wife, complain. He's like, see, if you are not happy at work, that actually eats into quality time with your own family, your children, if you're caring for an elderly parent or your partner, because you're spending so much time having to decompress once you get home from work. So finding a way to marry those two is great. There's another happiness researcher. His name is Sean Anker. He does all kinds of stuff. But one of the things he did was a research study at a large insurance company. They took the worst performing call center agents, right? Those people that just take calls, and it is a monotonous job. So shout out to anybody who is in the telemarketing field. And they basically told the company, we want you to give them 10 minutes a day to just connect with the coworker. And if you know anything about call centers, they are all about those minutes and times, clocking your bathroom breaks. They do not like to have you off the phones, but they agreed, and they just took 10 minutes to connect and talk about anything they wanted. It helped relieve stress. The productivity of that group, the worst performing department, went up 50% that year. And so there are so many ways that we can benefit financially as an employer, as well as from a mental perspective. So if you are making a transition to a new career, first of all, don't be afraid to ask your friends for a hookup. If they are truly your friends, you need to be able to do that. We have to open our mouths and say, I am going from one area to another. Do you know somebody, who you can introduce me to? Networking is another great way. Don't be afraid to get out after hours, or sometimes they have lunch meetups. You can go to different chamber of commerce. There are leads groups in your area, LEADS, where they intentionally get together for the purpose of just sharing information. So somebody finds out what you do, you find out what they do. And I'm talking about connecting, not connecting. Con meaning you're just there to, get something out for yourself, because people can see that. People can sniff when you are not there, for it to be mutually beneficial. But if you go not to connect, but to truly connect and just find out what people do, you'll be amazed. If they have a genuine connection with you, they'll start to tell others about what you do. So that's a couple of ways that you can sort of bridge the personal. Find something that you enjoy doing. It could be fishing, it could be knitting, it could be, I did a lot of networking in my mom's group. Mocha Moms is a national organization, just letting other moms know what I did. And so when they were out talking, it's, I have a friend who does that. So you can network on a professional level, but you can start it in a social environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that, because so many times we're afraid to just say something, right? We don't want our friends to think that we're using them, right? But you have to, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? In the Bible, it says, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be answered. And so what are we doing if we're not at least conversational about what our next steps are? Like, hey girl, I'm trying to do this, and what do you think about that? Even get their opinion, because that could be some market research for you that kind of helps you figure out, okay, maybe this isn't really a good next step for me. Maybe I need to reconsider, because I never considered this part of that. And so I love that advice, because again, like I said, sometimes we're just afraid to say anything because we're afraid of what someone might say, or the judgment, or you're afraid of the unknown. And I always say success lies in the unknown, because you got to go for it, and you don't know what's going to happen, but it's either going to be good or bad. If it's good, keep going. If it's not good, then figure out what went wrong. Don't do that again, and try something different. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to talk about now, though, your guided journals and your live online workshops. This seems like a really innovative space to enhance your friendships. And so talk to us about how these tools specifically help people to upgrade their relationships, or to make new friends, to create new relationships.
I'm glad you clarified that there are two areas. So yes, if you are looking to make new friends and just are having a little bit of trouble, again, you don't have to be labeled as, you're so shy, but there are people who, like you said, they don't want to say that they need friends. It looks like you think you look like you come across desperate, right? And that's not the case at all. There's something called the likeness gap. It says that we typically underestimate how much people like us after the first meeting. And so they did a study where they had people just interact. And then afterwards, they asked folks, how do you think that person felt about you? What was your first impression? And more times than not, we felt like, oh, I wonder if I talked too much or I didn't say enough. Did I have something in my teeth or my nose? And that likeness gap shows that no, when they asked the other person their first impression of you, more times than not, it was way higher than what you thought. So we have to shed that mentality that letting people know that I, need a connection and I want to, have friends, that I want to socialize, doesn't make you look desperate. And I love that about the closed mouths don't get fed. And going back to that nurse, people are regretting not what they did, what they didn't do. There's so many missed opportunities out there. And so I have a journal. This is it here. It's called Friendships to Go. And it's a guided journal, which means every single page has an activity for you to do. And it slowly steps you through the process of getting you out to socialize more. And so some of the activities take less than 5 minutes. We're going to look a little bit into your childhood in terms of what you saw around adult friendships and how people network, so that you can make that connection and start to break down maybe some of those negative ideologies around, how you interact with other people. And hopefully by the end of the workbook, and you can go at your own pace. Some people are eager beavers, in 30 days, they want to do everything. You'll have opportunities to step out there, to try something new, to go to some different places instead of going to the same places that you hang out. So that's one thing. The workbook, which is available on my website, 5starfriendships.org, you can get, and it's self-paced. Now, the live course is 2 hours. That's done with a group. It is online, and I'm walking through both groups. There's a 5-step process I have for people who need to get their feet wet and don't know where to start to make friendship connections. And then for those who already have friends, there's another 5-part module that walks you through what are you doing other than just meeting up with your girlfriends for brunch or just going, to hang out with your guys and play golf. And so I think there is something for everyone, and not one person who's taken my course, didn't feel like it wasn't worth their time.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. So, excuse me. I love that because, again, guys, it's a guided journal. So it's going to take you through some activities step by step to really help you get better. And so this really kind of leads me into my final question here. And aside from your journal, if people are struggling to make meaningful connections, what are some immediate things that they can do to start improving their relationships? What would you suggest?
The first thing I would suggest is you got to get your mind right. That's like with anything, whether you want to start a business, lose weight, whatever it is, you got to have a positive attitude and go, I am worthy of friends. I see the value. You can do a basic internet search around why friendships are important. It'll have a long list of everything from reducing blood pressure to weight loss, everything. So you got to believe that it's worth it. Secondly, start small, right? You can just go online. If you have social media, there are things that come across my feed all the time, right? Just bookmark them and make a promise, a commitment to yourself. I'm going to go to one new thing a month, a quarter, whatever seems comfortable for you, right? You got to sort of take those baby steps and just show up. You don't have to go and talk to anybody. You don't have to pass out business cards. Just take baby steps and say, I'm going to take one new thing and I'm just going to show up. And then once you do that, you get more comfortable with it. Or if you have a connector in your neighborhood, most of us know an extrovert, right? That person, you see them on social media all the time. They're always having events or they're going to other events. Reach out to that person and say, hey, I'm really trying to connect with more people from a social, personal perspective or from a business perspective. Can you, let me know when you're going to another event so I can tag along? Or do you have, a group that you would recommend that I start with? And you can start with an online group, right? Just start to post, find out what they're about. And then once they have live or in-person activities, you will feel more comfortable going. So you don't have to go from 0 to 100, but you need to take one step to at least show up. And when you do show up, wherever you are going, do not spend the time on your cell phone in the corner, right? You need to be there and be observant of what's going on. Pick up on what people are doing and saying, and you'll have a better chance of feeling comfortable, maybe stepping into a conversation or asking a question. Or if you don't even get into the conversation, at least ask for contact information afterwards so you can follow up. That's one of the key places people fall short. They'll go to an event, say, this was great, it was fun, and then they don't actually, have the courage to ask, hey, I thought you had a really cool vibe, or you said some cool things. Can we meet for coffee, in the next couple of weeks? Very rarely will someone say no. So go ahead. You have to be willing to show up and then be willing to follow up.
I love that. And one of the things you said, you can't be on your cell phone in the corner, right?
Oh,
So I think, excuse me, I think us as millennials, for one, well, my generation at least, we kind of got, we grew up, I guess we grew up with technology, right? And so I can remember the days of AOL and being online using instant messenger, but I also remember having to either get the newspaper to find the times for the movies or like call the movie theater and get the listing of the show times. But then
right.
I can remember it evolving into, hey, they have an online thing now. Let's look online and see what those times are. You can go on their website. And so nowadays, excuse me, we've become so attached to our phones that we forget that life is happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even the younger generation, Gen Z, that's coming into the workplace now, that's coming of age to, start their careers, they do it a lot too. They're just so into their phones. And so I would recommend, just like Anika did, put your phone down for 5-10 minutes and just see what's happening. Go and talk to someone and connect. Like, and I'm guilty of this too. If I'm in my room and I need my son to do something, I'll text him and he'll come he'll come faster than if I call his name. But but I say that because I've seen people talking at parties, but texting.
Mm-hmm.
And so like instead of you going over there and like the walk over to that person, you'll meet like 2 or 3 other people. Excuse me, you stand and you're still just texting that person. And so you don't give yourself an opportunity to even make other connections because, like Anika said, you have to kind of put yourself out there. You have to be willing to open up to connect with other people. So I appreciate you coming on today. I really appreciate all of the advice that you've given and for really clarifying what a friendship consultant is, because this is something very new, I'm sure, to a lot of people. It certainly
Mm-hmm.
was to me. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. I do want to give the listeners access to you. And so, how would they get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do or work with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, which is fivestarfriendships.org. That's FIVESTAR, friendships.org. It has all of my contacts on there. But if you are more comfortable with social media, you can find me at 5-Star Friendships on Facebook. And I also am at 5-Star Friendships on TikTok. I post daily, and I'm talking about anywhere from 30 seconds to, a minute or so. And I share research out there, things you might not be thinking about. I give little challenges. We just did one where I asked you to call up a friend and say, I need you to think of a color that represents me, but don't tell me what it is. What color do you think represents me? And then we set a meetup and you each show up in the color for the other person. And you have the opportunity to explain why I'm wearing red for you or purple or whatever. So I have little challenges like that. I share research. And if you're on my VIP list, you can get access to early notifications and discounts on things like make sure I get that, the workbook, Friendships to Go, the journal. So yeah, 5starfriendships.org, or I'm on Facebook and TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anika. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I didn't have my little co-host today. She started daycare, so I'm excited for her. But, y'all who catch me on a weekly basis. Y'all know Winter is usually right here by my side asking some hard questions as well.
Hopefully
But
I get to meet her again online soon. That would be pretty cool. Again, I said I love working with young people anyway. So
she is
congratulations,
very
Mom.
young.
If you're doing good with her being away at preschool. That's hard for some people to make that separation initially. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see the
she
little
had
list.
separation anxiety, and so did Mom. But
Oh,
we're working through it.
that's right.
But
Just
thank
like the
you.
friendship thing, you got to push through the fear. You know, in the end, it's good for you.
Right.
Yes,
I love that connection, right? Yes, you know that it's going to be good in the end, but you have to push through to get there.
that's right.
So, great advice. Hope you guys caught that. So, thank you so much, Anika, for being here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. And until next time, guys, on the Spring Forward podcast.